So our next guest speaker is Mariel Klosterman. She's a senior at Dakota State University, is currently majoring in network and security administration. Her areas of interest are defensive security and open source intelligence. Ms. Klosterman has conducted significant research related to sock puppet accounts, which are an integral part of OSINT and digital investigations. So over to you, Mariel.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone at the Rainbow Cyber Secure Symposium for having me and just welcoming me in. I submitted this really last minute, so I appreciate their flexibility and looking forward to sharing more with you about what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to share my screen here. All right, so hopefully you can all share my screen. If not, I'm sure you guys can let me know. But today,
yeah, we can see it.
Great, wonderful. So today I'm talking about my sock puppet cobbler project, which is a research project I did, and just a little bit more about sock puppet accounts and what they are. So really quick, we're just going to go over a few definitions that I have for terms that I'll be using in the presentation, what sock puppet accounts are, two main uses for them, and just addressing why you should care and how they affect you in your daily life. So as they mentioned, I'm a student at Dakota State University and going for my bachelor's in network and security administration. I recently won the Open Source Rising Star of the Year for 2021 award, and that was just regarding my leadership and my abilities with my research project. So I've also spoken at different security groups and conferences, InfraGard, Nebraska CERT, Osmosis Con, and later on today, the Day of Security Conference. And just talking about sock puppets and what they are. So I'm sure you all probably thought when you heard sock puppet accounts, sock puppets, are those hand puppets that you use to make plays? And that's what a lot of people have thought when I first introduced this. And definitely sounds like that. I understand. It was very funny when I first mentioned that I was doing research on sock puppets. So let's define sock puppets. Why sock puppet cobbler? Well, in spy terms, a cobbler is a forger of identity documents. And that will relate, as you'll see later on, just to the project itself. I mean, it can also be seen as someone who fixes shoes, which would kind of go with the sock puppet. A puppeteer is someone who creates the sock puppet accounts for benign or malicious purposes, and we'll talk about that a bit more. Malicious actors, someone who threatens the security of a company or individual for their own purposes, whether that's monetary, whether that's they're trying to stalk them, things related to that. And then disinformation, which can often be confused for misinformation. Disinformation is false or misleading information that's intended to deceive someone. So sock puppet accounts are alternative accounts. They're just another account that you would use on a social media platform, not even always social media platforms, but mainly social media platforms. And it's not under your name usually. It's either pretending to be someone else or just pretending to be someone who isn't you. They're often used for spreading propaganda. You might have heard of, troll or bot accounts. And that's usually when people think of sock puppet accounts, or when you research more about sock puppet accounts, that's what you'll see them being referred to. But also when you're investigating someone or when people are conducting digital investigations, they don't want to be associated with the investigation. They don't want their target to know, okay, someone is looking into you, and they can be used for either good purposes or bad purposes, because the algorithms on social media networks, they're designed to track you out, track you and rat you out and say, hey, someone's looking at your profile, such as on LinkedIn, when they will explicitly tell you someone looked at your profile, and sometimes they'll tell you who it is, right, if you have the premium. But you don't want that to happen if you're investigating someone and you don't want them to get suspicious. So sock puppet accounts give you a way to put distance between yourself and someone you're looking into, and that's why they're usually used. So as I mentioned before a little bit, their two main uses is spreading information, such as using propaganda accounts or disinformation accounts, or collecting information, which is used a lot for passive reconnaissance. That's when you're trying to find information on someone just using publicly available information. And then active reconnaissance, which gets more into the human intelligence side, which is, contacting someone or following them in order to get information that you wouldn't be able to get just publicly available. And I usually don't touch much on that because it gets really iffy with legality, right? If you're pretending to be someone else in order to get information, that's not going to hold up well in court. It's not going to hold up well as far as the information goes, especially with their expectation of privacy there. So really quick, here's an example sock puppet account I created for a capture the flag competition for an outreach program I'm conducting. And if you'll notice, some key factors of amateur sock puppeteers is you'll notice they'll have low post counts. They don't post a lot. They have a low number of followers. And, if you'll notice the Twitter account, right, it was a recently joined account in the last few years. And that's how you can usually tell if an account is created by an amateur sock puppeteer. So let's address why you care, right? How does this affect you? Well, as far as businesses goes, it can really affect your reputation risk management. There's, a lot of times you'll see situations with fake product reviews, right? Just trying to convince people that your product is worse than it is, or that, there are discrepancies, or that it is somehow flawed in a way that it really isn't. They can also leave store or business reviews, just, saying how bad when they went to your location the customer service was, or how bad, the actual building itself was. And that can really harm your business's reputation. They can also put out articles about how your business is not legitimate, or how, questioning if it's a scam or not. And that can also really affect people's decisions to buy from you or to really interact with you as a company. So they, like I said, they can also post comments on pages or on social media accounts, just claiming that, your business did something that it really did not. But then as far as, going back to what Sharpa was talking about, and especially with the ransomware that the last presenter was talking about, some of that reconnaissance and exploitation. So they can scrape a lot of personal information or business information from social media accounts and then create more convincing spear phishing emails. So a really simple spear phishing example that I've seen conducted at least one of the companies I've worked for in the past is the attacker will scrape your social media and website. And one of the main things they're trying to find is the email structure that your company uses. So whether that's first name dot last name at company, or last name dot first name, whatever combination of that you have, they're trying to find that email structure. Next, they'll find a list of people they think are current employees, maybe something from LinkedIn where it has, okay, these are the employees that work there. Sometimes on your company website, you'll have, here's the CEO, here's this. So they'll create a user list, right? And then they'll send out an email blast. And this doesn't have to be anything phishing, anything really specific. They just want to see which emails respond and say, yes, I'm here. Or sometimes they're looking for an out of office email responder, which can often tell you, okay, how long they're out of office, who their next report is, and other information that will help them craft a more convincing spear phishing email, such as maybe you have your signature in there. Your company has a signature block, and then they can copy that for their later use. And one of the spear phishing emails, right, after they craft their spear phishing emails, they can send those out. One of them that I've seen is pretending to be from, your C-suite executives or someone that's directly above you, saying, hey, I need you to do this task really quick. Can you send me your cell phone number? Or, something really simple, just pretending to be that company executive. So that's how it can affect people as a business, right? But as far as you in your profession, a lot of people think, well, more of the times they're going after the business. But with that, right, if you're in cybersecurity, even if you're not in cybersecurity, they can attack your profession directly, or just you directly as a professional. And Google and Microsoft early last year, I think, published reports about how sock puppet accounts, and they don't refer to it as that, it's not as well known a term, but they were talking about how cybersecurity researchers were being targeted by these sock puppet accounts and either trying to send them to malicious websites or trying to share a supposed exploit with them to say, hey, can we collaborate? So here is one of the websites that the supposed security researchers, the sock puppet accounts, link to. And, it looks really convincing. So again, it's not always something where the phisher is going to have something that's really low quality. Sometimes it will be really good quality where you're questioning, okay, is this actually a phishing website? If you're, a lot of times if it looks that good, you're not even going to think it's a phishing website, because we're always trained to look for inconsistencies or things that look off. But if it looks good, you're going to be convinced. So here's a few examples of the security researcher sock puppet accounts that were targeting Google and Microsoft's researchers. And if you'll notice, right, when I mentioned with the connection, sometimes with amateur sock puppet accounts, you can tell. Sometimes you can't tell because you can buy followers, right? You can buy connections. There are different ways of going about it where you can make sure you look like you're part of the community. And here's another example of Twitter accounts, right? If you'll notice right here, they have low followers, but in another example that I'll show you later, they have a lot more followers. So, but if you'll notice, one thing is that these accounts joined February and January of this year. So that's one of the ways you can tell if, sometimes an account is recently created or it's made specifically for this purpose, is if they're created recently. So with these Twitter accounts, right, you can also see that they have a lot more followers than the previous ones. But you'll also notice, right, these were created in the last 2 to 3 years. And so that's one way you can tell. It's not a foolproof way, but that's another way you can tell. But one of the things that these sock puppet accounts would do is that they would follow highly respected people in the security industry and then retweet, comment, and just engage in the community to seem like they were part of it, right? And that they were actually legitimate people in the security industry. And they would also post videos and blogs about, okay, I found this exploit, and just things to help bolster their legitimacy. So any questions, if you want to connect with me or talk a little bit more, if you have any concerns, just let me know.
Thank you, Mariel. Really, very good presentation and a different perspective to cybersecurity, I would say. Your slides were wonderful. You chose the very nice topic to discuss this, because everybody talks about fake profiles and fake news and fake that, but nobody I came across, I saw like doing this kind of research where they tie up that thread to really I would say work that hackers do to get your details. So I think one has to be careful when somebody is trying to reach you for some information and maybe trying to be friend of you, because as you mentioned, right, they may buy the connections, they may do something, they may want you to really, they may go to extend that, try to do a business talk with you and try to get your attention to certain websites. Normally as a security people, professional, we are careful while visiting different sites. But when somebody is trying to talk a business with you, then you may think, yeah, I should trust him because now he's trying to do business with me. And you do go to a certain website that might have malware. So I think wonderful research you did. And somebody is asking that, chat says how to stop this, like, when somebody's normally trying to get a bank loan with your name and social, now you have this credit monitoring alerts, but how to do something similar mitigation in this real world with your social media accounts? How do you try to watch? Is there any way to stop it?
So that brings up a very interesting point with, what do you do, right? When there's these sock puppet accounts and they're all over, a lot of times you're not going to see them simply because you're too busy, you're not looking for them. There's so many things that can happen. And with that, I would recommend, and this is what I usually recommend when I'm talking about this, is do a social media audit. Go through your social media accounts and see, okay, what information is out there that other people can see. One thing that used to be, and I believe LinkedIn changed a lot of the security settings for this, but you used to be able to see someone's contact information. You could see their phone number, you could see their email if they hadn't set their security settings correctly. And that's one of the things where you don't know what's out there and you're expecting other people to not know what's out there either. But if it is out there, then they'll be able to get that because they're looking for it. Whereas you're not necessarily looking for it, other people aren't necessarily looking for it. So doing a social media audit, if you're in a company that does out of office email responders, maybe looking at the information that you're sending out there, especially since often out of office email responders are just to anyone. It's not to people in your company, right, who usually need to know. It's for anyone who sends an email. So just doing an audit of what information is out there about you that other people can find is a good step to taking that information down and just, putting a few more privacy settings. And, if you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out to me right on LinkedIn and just, mentioning, hey, I watched your presentation at Rainbow Secure and I have a few questions about this or that. And really just looking at some of the things that other people can just look out there, right? That's the big scary part is now that we're in this world of sharing so much, right? You're not used to not sharing things. So just being aware of what you're sharing, even if it doesn't seem like it could harm you, is a big step.
Yes, I think, yeah, one has to be now mindful of what they are sharing on social media, whom they are connecting with, and most importantly, I think what they are revealing through very innocent actions, like you rightly mentioned, out of office reply. Where people do put all the contact information of, hey, I'm on vacation, so they are telling they are on vacation. So it's good that they are away, so nobody would be watching certain things. And second, you are revealing the contact information of other people who are gonna support on your behalf. So that's where second piece of information they get. Yes. Also, I think email blast, there are some tools to prevent somebody impersonating you from sending emails when you secure that email domain through DKIM and other ways, but not many people know this. So we at Rainbow Secure do help SMBs and startups to secure their email communication, secure their domains with different tools available. But still one has to be mindful and careful when they interact on social media. So thank you very much for bringing this interesting perspective, interesting topic to our platform. And surely our attendees have liked it, and we have good comments on the chat. So and I think once again, I wish you all the good luck in your career. And I would definitely like to re-invite you for future summits and webinars.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate all kind comments. And, if you have any questions, like I said, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much.